We're going to explain how to get a file path, a crucial skill for any programmer or anyone working with files on a computer. There are several ways to achieve this, depending on your operating system and programming language. Let's explore some common methods. 1. Using the File Dialog Box (GUI) approach. Many programming languages offer built-in functions or libraries to create a graphical user interface (GUI) element, a file dialog box, which lets the user select a file. The path of the selected file is then returned as a string. This is user-friendly because it visually shows the user the file system and allows selection of files using clicks rather than typing paths. For example, in Python with libraries like tkinter or pyqt, you would create a file dialog or similar object to open a dialog where the user can browse files. Once the user selects a file, the path of the selected file is readily available for use within your code. 2. Using command line arguments, CLI approach. If you're working with a command line application, the file path can be provided as a command line argument. Your program would then access this argument, usually stored in an array or list called argv in many languages. This is commonly used when processing files from the terminal. For example, if you run your program with myprogram.c/path to /myplasfile.txt, your program can then grab cpal path to mypalfile.txt from the command line arguments to use as the file path. 3. Hard-coding the file path, not recommended. You can simply write the file path directly into your code. However, this is generally discouraged as it makes your program less flexible, prone to errors if you change file locations, and less portable to different systems. Only use this method for testing or very specific cases where the file location is absolutely constant. For example, you could write filepath iswan users/username documents myfile.txt. But this path will probably be different on another machine or even for another user on the same machine. 4. Using relative paths. Instead of absolute paths, like cplas, you can use relative paths. A relative path specifies the location of a file relative to the current working directory of your program. For instance, if your program is running in c/myproject, and you use the relative path data/myfile.txt, it will look for the file at c/myproject/data/myfile.txt. This is more portable than hard-coding absolute paths, but ensure you correctly manage your working directory. 5. Operating system-specific functions. Different operating systems offer their own functions for retrieving file paths or information. For example, in Windows, you might use functions from the Windows API, while on Linux or Mac OS, you might use POSIX functions, often accessible through language-specific libraries. These methods often involve accessing the system's file system information directly. Remember to always handle potential errors, such as the file not existing or being inaccessible. Check file existence before attempting to open or process it to prevent runtime crashes. Each of these methods requires appropriate error handling depending on the context and programming language. Using try-except blocks, Python, or similar error handling mechanisms is essential for robust